Yay, no rain. Last time I walked you through the non-Awdry activities I did, which most would do after Awdry Extravaganza, but I like to do them before, as a sort of calm before the storm if you will. But now it's time for the Awdry Extravaganza event. After my encounter with Adam Thomas Fearest, who you should subscribe to by the way, I realised that the sprinter train had a bit of stand time, so I sprinted, haha, to the bridge outside of the NGRM to see it off. After that I walked down to the wharf and saw Palmerston wearing the Duke nameplates and sitting on tracks that were laid to accommodate it, as the Festiniog Railway, where Palmerston lives, is 2 foot gauge, while the TR is 2 foot 3 inches. While there I saw the flatbed that used to be Coach 12 being dressed up as Ada, and then turned in for the night. I turned up at 8:20 AM and although it was quite early, Town Wharf was already bustling. The first train of the day was the exhibition train, and before it departed, Veronica Chambers, the daughter of Wilbert, gave a speech. After watching the first train depart, I went over to George and appeared in the background of the live stream. The steamroller they got to play George was Thistledown, which was previously owned by Teddy Boston, and I previously saw it at the Great Central Railway Winter Gala in 2024. I hung around at Wharf for a bit, mingling with the other visitors and watching the trains coming and going.
You do not deserve to be saved. You have no right to still exist.
I know that Rusty has a whistle technically.
He does? Rusty has a whistle?
Well, I mean, Midlander does.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Farewell. Go Virginia!
Go Virginia!
Who's that black tank engine?
That's Blackstone from over the border. Should have brought my traffic. Oh my god, I see you! Oh my god!
I know, I can't believe it either.
Yeah, well, look at you in person. I've seen you on Twitter or X or whatever the fuck it's called now.
And you know, I nearly met Ceasewine at Birmingham.
Dolgar then brought River Mite dressed up as Mike to Wharf, and when River Mite was being shunted around, people started chanting Molten Mike. It was incredible. I had a slot in the Tower and Wolf exhibition at 11 AM, so I went over there, and this is my live reaction. That's right, I saw the real Billy model, courtesy of Neil Leeton. The other models on display were a Cool Props Thomas, one of Edward's brass models from Season 10, the original Gordon and Henry models from Season 1, and the Duck model from Season 2. There was also the Gauge-Free Thomas from Season 9 along with its faces, with Sam Wilkinson under controls. And finally, there was the gauge-free Annie and Clarabelle from season 11, along with their hit era close-up model, which, like Billy, is also owned by Neil Leeton, and the models of the Fat Controller, Lady Hat, and Steven Hat. Overall, it was a nice selection of classic and hit era props. I booked one special train to travel on during the event, and that was the picnic hauled by Sir Hayden dressed up as Sir Handel. The cool thing about the picnic was that you get to travel in the original coaches. I travelled in coach 3 on the outward journey, and in coach 4 on the return. And when you got on the train, you were given a bag which contained a pin, a mid-sodal ticket, and a piece of card with a quote pertaining to the train on the back.
There's actually another guy here from Canada. I just spoke to him the other day. He's basically, he's since the 27th, he's basically planned out, he's going to London, he's going to Scotland, he's doing all these things.
sleeping on the top. Or going into a pile of water, like, I know you want to. Time to give a twister to make sure you're not in someone's photo.
Abergynolwyn is where you get your food from, and for those curious, it was a sandwich, a piece of sausage roll, a packet of crisps, some digestives, and a bottle of water. Here's the bottle, by the way. After that lunch break, it was time to head back to town.
Not a soul on that carriage. How do I? Yeah, he's getting on.
Man, this train is empty.
To give it the shape. You see? It's just the introvert train.
When we got back to town, I saw that Thistledown was rolling back and forth on the wharf, one of the few times it was in motion due to the high volume of visitors. And after that I saw more trains coming and going, and just hung around a bit. The photo charter was the last train of the day, and unlike the previous events, it ran on all 3 days instead of just the last day.
yourselves.
And that concludes the first day of the Awdry Extravaganza. When I headed to Wharf, I saw Tally, Flynn and Dolgar wearing their new Skarloey and Rheneas faces, but with Albert and Jerry nameplates in reference to the mid-Sodor engines. After hanging out at Wharf for an hour or so, I hopped on the 10:50 departure, which was the BBC TV train hauled by Edward Thomas. I met Thomas 1, Edward 2, Henry 3 on the train, and we had a fairly lengthy chat, and I appeared in 2 of his videos. While at Abergynolwyn, I went into the exhibition and had a look about. Some of the items on display were Awdry's Farquhar branch and mid-zonal layouts, the Lakeside of Prix, which I previously saw at the Tugs event in April, some Skarloey railway buildings and rolling stock from Series 4, a scale model of Tally Flynn, Skarloey's large-scale model from Season 5, and Reneus's clean model from Season 11's Wash Behind Your Buffers. And while I was there, someone donated one of their spare smoke boxes to make the model more complete. Because this is what the model looks like without the parts borrowed from the main Reneus model. And I went back to the exhibition later that same day and it was still there. It might have been packed away with it too. Someone made a large-scale Skarloey replica based on its appearance in Season 5, and seeing it alongside the original was quite cool.
Is it electric?
Jerry.
I can't be bothered with this. He's just looking down at me like, he's not very happy. Hello, fuck me. I'm a PNG, Thomas. Nah, it's fine. He flies though. Wow.
Thomas, do is standing up.
Oh my god.
No, that's a Bentley, not a Rustin.
Last year, they did a race with the Chapel Train and car, a 2006 Toyota Yaris wearing Midlander's old rusty face. This year, they did it again, with car racing the talking train, and I got to witness the race beginning. I got the 1610 train back up the line hauled by Tom Rolt, and got off at Abergynolwyn instead of continuing to Nant Gwernol, so I could go into the exhibition again. In the exhibition, I got to put my Metal Collection James next to Awdry's James, and my Hornby Thomas next to Thomas Mark III. It even got to be placed on the Farquhar branch layout.
It's a roll, it's a proper chap. Proper chap with his shank. Good on you, be a lad. Give me a bit of roll, fucking score a shank. Score a shank. Don't stop with them fucking. Why are you doing the bird noises earlier?
When the train headed back to Wharf, I thought they were shutting the flatbed with Douglas's boiler on it. And that concludes day 2 of the extravaganza. When I headed to Wharf, I saw Tom Rolt depart with River Might. I booked 2 slots in the exhibition, and the second slot was on Sunday at 10 AM. And in there I got a better look at the Brass Edward model. Gordon was wearing his unused snowplow prop, and there were trucks, express coaches, a works unit coach, and Billy shuttling back and forth. After looking around the exhibition, I went down to Wharf and brought out all the items I brought with me.
I'm assuming it's the anniversary. I'm going to guess maybe 2030.
Is that Boris?
Maybe. Genuinely, there's not been any more thought about that. No, we just need to get through this point.
Who's the owner of the Henry? How about if we reenact that scene from Super Rescue where Henry takes over? Yeah?
Is that all the coaches we got? Is that all the coaches?
Yeah, that's all good.
Right, guys, that's the big
We would need a...
Yeah, we could.
I didn't notice.
And we need...
I took a ride on Palmerston as I hadn't done so during the previous 2 days. The train I hopped on was the 2 train, which was the Tallyflin and Dolgoth double-header. I purposely chose the trains I travelled on so I could ride behind every steam engine on the railway. I already travelled behind Douglas back in 2022, so it being a boiler on a flatbed wasn't an issue for me. For the return journey, I travelled in Coach 26, which is their newest bogie coach. The grand final was to take place at 5:45 PM, and there was lots of cheering and whistling, and every time an engine moved, their name would be chanted. It was incredible. After that madness, it was time for the photo charter and the exhibition train to depart. And thus concludes Awdry Extravaganza 2025.
Oh, it's Owen. Hello.
Don't worry, I'll be back. I don't know when I'll be back, but one day I'll be back. And hopefully when I come back, you will be back too. After checking out, I made my way down to Wharf and saw River Might getting loaded onto a lorry bound for Ravenglass, during which Tally Flynn and Sir Hayden departed Wharf with their trains. After Sir Hayden left, the lorry departed. initially thought the 10 AM train was cancelled, only to find out that it wasn't. It departed from Pendre, I think, and it was Dolgoth who pulled the train. It was originally Edward Thomas who was rostered that day, but Dolgoth was fired up instead. And it seems that they didn't have time to bolt the nameplates back on. I got the 1325 train, and Max Terry 55 Stepney was on the same train as me. At Shrewsbury we had to change trains again, this time travelling on the new Class 197. After looking at some Miku plushies, I went to Moore Street Station to get the train back to London, which was a Class 168 Clubman. They have cool tables. It was also my first time travelling with Chiltern Railways. And that concludes my trip to Wales. There were other things I neglected to mention, like how it was revealed that the season 8 through 18 intro was going to be a remake of the classic intro, and how Richard Awdry is now the new lawkeeper for the Railway series. But this video is already running long, and I thank you for sticking around till the end. And I'd also like to thank the Purple Shirt Brigade for putting this and past extravaganzas together. It's still surreal to me that there were so many people gathered in this small seaside town in the middle of Wales, all for the same reason, and it was so amazing getting to meet them all. This is the last extravaganza for a while, so while my attendance may not have been great, being able to go there at all, twice even, was still really amazing, along with visiting the other railways in the area. To quote that one National Rail advert, nothing beats being there.
Go get him, Edward!